Parshat Vaetchanan, Shabbat Nachamu, begins by Moshe reminding the Jewish people that he pleaded with God over 500 times to be permitted entry into the land of Israel. But Hashem turned down his request, and he said, don't speak to me about it anymore. You're not going in. You committed a sin, and here you will remain in the plains of Moab, and here you will be buried. Moshe wanted to make Aliyah. He wanted to go to Israel. And as the sages say, it wasn't to eat of the beautiful fruit there or to drink the beautiful water, but it was in order to fulfill the mitzvot. Many, many mitzvot cannot be fulfilled outside of Israel. It can only be fulfilled and performed in the Holy Land. Today, making Aliyah is easier than it ever has been. One can simply hop on an airplane and go to Israel. And if a person is of Jewish birth or they've converted, then they're entitled. The state of Israel will pay for them to come and will help them to settle in according to the law of return. It wasn't always so easy. In fact, throughout Jewish history, it was very, very difficult. Rav Yisrael of Shklov, one of the main disciples of the Vilna Gaon, wrote the famous book, Pa'at HaShulchan, about the agricultural laws of Israel. He moved from Lithuania to Israel. And in the introduction to that work, he speaks about the most terrible misfortunes that he and his family underwent, whether it was starvation, famine, thirst, and the loss of most of his family members. And yet he says it was all worth it to come to the land of Israel. Well, most of us are not like Rav Yisrael of Shklov. We don't want the difficulty of making Aliyah with pain. But the question of should we make Aliyah, should we move to the land of Israel, is a very difficult question and a very personal question. In some segments of the Jewish people, it's almost expected that if you go and ask a rabbi, should I make Aliyah, they'll say, absolutely. In other segments, if you go to a rabbi and ask, should I make Aliyah, they'll try and dissuade you. But really, it's a very personal decision. And there are many things to consider. Are you going to be able to support yourself? Are you going to deal with the culture there? Are you going to deal with the language there? Are you going to be able to deal with the bureaucracy there? Many people in the diaspora live in a much more prosperous manner than they will in the land of Israel. They live in a big home with a swimming pool and a garden, and in Israel, people live in small apartments. Are you going to deal with all of that? And you're going to have a completely different mindset if you're going to be successful there. What about Judaism? One would think, well, it's a no-brainer. It's a Jewish country. My Judaism is going to improve, but it's not always the case. Because outside of Israel, we're very used to communities that hold us and nurture us. Israel is less like that. A shul is basically a place where you go to pray, and you have to find your community outside of a shul. One of my colleagues said that, when somebody passes away, you say to their family that their neshama should have an aliyah. Their soul should be elevated. It should rise. So he said the opposite way around when it comes to moving to Israel. He said your aliyah should have a neshama. When you move to Israel, it should have a soul. It shouldn't be that you're moving to the diaspora and you become less religious or less committed to going to Israel. It's a very personal question. And whatever the case may be, we have to realize, of course, that is the ideal for each and every Jewish person. And we look forward to the time that Mashiach will come and will lead all of the exiles to the land of Israel. But in the meantime, think about it. Think about it carefully. Should I stay here or should I move to Israel? There's a lot to weigh up. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.